What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. It sounds like spring. It's not spring because it's fall. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful today. It's been pretty gross, and we have been dealing with a lot of rain and cold weather. But today is supposed to be in, I don't know, a lot warmer. So what I'm going to try to do, kind of in between doing other things, is pull the valve covers off of the Aristo, get them stripped, because I think I've decided on a color. Now, it was kind of up in the air on if I wanted to just go totally OEM, or if I wanted to do a little bit of OEM plus, or what I wanted to do. Now, I cleaned up the spark plug cover with some compound and some polish and a little bit of wax, and it turned out really good. It's not perfect, but it's very shiny, if nothing else. So the next step is to get these valve covers cleaned up, painted, and I got some radium press-in fittings to do like a catch can. So the catch can is not built yet. I did design it the other day, evening, I guess, the other night. I messed with that. So let me show you guys that. Alright, so you guys can see a little bit of cardboard, a little bit of time. Came up with a design here. Basically what I wanted to do was incorporate these two holes here and here. Those are basically the holes that held the stock air box. And the reason I wanted to do that was I wanted to support this off of more than just the bracket in the corner over there. So basically the thought process is, what I could have done is just had like a cylinder going straight down, but there's a harness down there, and there is the fender well. So you can see down there, you can see down there that there is some stuff kind of in the way. It's not bad, but just to get a little bit more capacity, I did add kind of a little kick off into here, and the fittings are actually going to be here where the lines hook up. It will be baffled, and then there's going to be a filter that just kind of pops into that hole. And normally on my SC and stuff, I try to keep all of oil vapors and stuff off of the exhaust side of the engine, because obviously that could possibly maybe lead to a fire. Well, there's no room on this side. That's one. But really, because this is a street car and it's got AC and everything like that, I didn't want to smell the oil vapors. So the thought is it will breathe, the engine will breathe out of this tank, but then the smell and stuff will actually be drawn back in to the intake, so that it is not getting any vapor, but it is actually recirculating any kind of emissions out of there. It will actually draw it back into the intake for the engine. Alright, so really what this video is about is getting the valve covers off and stripping them. So I'm not going to, I don't like to sandblast my valve covers, because there's always a chance of the media actually going into the valve cover, and then it could potentially fall into the engine, wipe out a bearing, scratch a cylinder, anything like that, because it is a very hard material that is actually being used to media blast things. Sand, glass, etc. It's not good inside your engine. So I am going to strip it, wash it, let it dry, prime it, and then paint it. I'm going to show you guys the two colors I was kind of between, and I guess give you guys a little explanation to why I chose what I chose. Okay, so these were my options. I was going to do basically just a regular gray, kind of a dark gray, with a satin clear, and that would have kind of matched the stock valve covers. However, because I'm a little like OEM Plus right now. This is basically the same gray, but with metallic, and then a gloss clear. So instead of it being so like stock looking, it'll be the stock color to an extent, but then with a little bit of metal flake. So let me walk out here where there's some light. Too much light. You guys can kind of see the very fine flake in here. So that's the plan. That's better. So yeah, you guys can see the flake in there a little bit. Now, I did, like I said, I cleaned up this cover, and you can see how glossy it is, finally. I've been trying to take pictures of it. Now, there is some staining, and I don't know what that is, because it's almost like it's rearranged the metallic for some reason. So I don't know if maybe somebody sprayed this off with like some brake clean or something, and it sat, and then almost like you can't really feel it, but something happened there, is what it is. But I sprayed these bolts with the stuff we're going to use on the valve covers, and it came out pretty satin, and the metallic was definitely like on top. So like if you rubbed it a little bit, it kind of came off on your fingers. So I decided that a little bit of clear coat will kind of get it all in there. I'm going to use this quick stripper. This is an aerosol can, so that's kind of why I have all this cardboard laid out to strip these valve covers. So I got to take the strut bar off, and then the plug wire, or the coil pack cover, and then I should have access to both valve covers. I should be able to just pop them up and tape off things like where the oil inlet is, because we don't want to mess with that, and kind of get stuff pulled out. Really, the only thing that needs to be pulled out is that rubber grommet. Now, I'm probably going to leave... I'm kind of torn, so both the rubber grommet and this little vent over here do need to be removed to press in the radium pieces. Once I have the valve covers off, I'll lay some towels over top of it, but the plan is to get this thing back together quickly so that I can actually drive this, because I want to do the maintenance. I finally have everything for the maintenance, so that's got to get this thing apart. Yeah, so we're going to work on that now. Alright guys, my camera died, so I had to break out the GoPro. But I wanted to show you guys something real quick that you guys really need to pay attention to when you're doing things. So I pulled all the coil packs out, and one really common thing on JZs in general is kind of wire loom and connector deterioration. So check it out. Down in there is a bunch of old like connector pieces and pieces of the loom and stuff like that, and that's all down where you would normally take the plugs out. So hopefully this isn't too blown out. There you go. But there can be leaves down in here, which is, there's leaves and parts of nuts. So take your time on this stuff, guys. Vacuum it out before you pull the plugs. Now, all right, so like I said, my camera died, so I just kept going just so I could keep getting all this stuff apart, and pulled the coil packs. So one good thing about this is there are new coil pack connectors, and most of the wire loom holders have been replaced. Daniel, that I got the car from, actually did that before we came because he knew we were taking such a long drive. So always find a guy that's, if you're going to buy a car, that's the kind of guy you want to buy a car from. Taking care of us because he knew we had a long drive. But yeah, so what I'm going to do while the camera charges and stuff like that, I do want to replace the plugs. Now, I would normally use, I've got a Buck Performance sells this really great gapper. However, it's in my race toolbox because, well, I don't do a whole lot of this kind of work from the house. But luckily I do keep the handy dandy standard snap-on. Now I am going to run a regular copper plug or a V-Power plug in this. Normally you would want like an iridium or something like that, just so that for longevity and all of that. But honestly, I run a $2 NGK V-Power. It's a BKR 7E, and they're gapped down to like 22 thousandths. Now, I'm going to run these probably around 20 thousandths, maybe 18 because it's factory coil packs, but maybe I'll open them up a little bit. It's not like this thing makes a whole lot of horsepower, and it's not terribly hard to take them out if I need to re-gap them. So I'm going to vacuum everything out here and then change the plugs. And once I get the plugs changed, I am going to hopefully have the other camera back. That way we can get the valve covers off and I can take you guys through stripping them, at least a time lapse if nothing else. Alright guys, that was strenuous. So I am going to tell you guys, this video is going to wrap up kind of soon. Trying to get the valve covers off, I actually had to pry on them a little bit, which I do not recommend. I don't recommend prying on anything that is cast aluminum. It will, 90% of the time, it's going to crack. I lucked out and was able to just get the old rubber to release and got them off. But I have to say, I'm not really thrilled. I'm not really disappointed, but I'm not thrilled with what the inside of this engine looks like. So hold on. Alright, so it is a little funky. You can see, you know, the lobes are about the only thing that you can really see because they basically are constantly being polished. But all the caps and stuff are kind of gross. Probably means this thing wasn't necessarily not taken care of, but it was, you know, oil changes went a little bit longer than they probably should have. So I'm going to cover them up and show you guys the valve covers. Alright guys, so you guys can see the valve covers. You can see the reason I really pulled them is there's a lot of corrosion. It's actually come through now, but there's a lot of corrosion all over these things. And we're going to be taking this out and this out and running the radium press-in fittings, which I will show you guys eventually, but you guys can see all the corrosion. Yeah, there's actually like a little bit of corrosion, and this gasket is super hard. I have all new Toyota gaskets for that. All the little washers, which you can see are completely deteriorated. Buy OEM Toyota washers. Big tip there. So, yeah. But this is a little clip that holds the idle air control valve tube. But, yeah. Alright guys, well, I'm going to close the video out here. One, my camera's batteries are still charging, and I want to jump off the GoPro for you guys. Now the GoPro obviously works, but on the next part, so there's going to be a part 2 of this. The next part is going to show stripping the valve covers, prepping the valve covers, painting the valve covers, and putting them all back together. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to probably do a 2 upload in 1 week, so look for that video shortly. So I'll see you guys soon, real soon.